Hello everyone and welcome to another Getting Stuff Painted, my bi-weekly update, give or take, on the various miniatures I've been painting for the games we cover here on the channel. Not a huge amount to cover this time, but a big variety of games if nothing else, including models for a game that does not exist. We'll start with that in a second. Then we have the latest releases from Marvel Crisis Protocol from the World War II era, Hydra and, well, not SHIELD, but Captain America and whatnot. Then we have a little bit of Fallout Wasteland Warfare, a healthy chunk of Elder Scrolls Call to Arms, both games by Modifius, and then finally a little bit of the Batman miniature game on the end there of the other new releases that came out a little bit ago. So as always, done in contrast, a little bit of a mix, mostly done in Grace here as always, but there is a couple where I used the Wraithbone, that's what it's called, the Wraithbone base paint instead, for reasons I'll get into as we get started. So, in between cuts as always of me, the dog just hit into the table, of the dog bringing me toys to forcibly throw. So here we have two oddities, because, oh well, if you're familiar with video games at all, you'll hopefully recognise Tracer and Reinhardt from Overwatch, a game which recently had a sequel release, Overwatch 2, although it's not really a sequel, but you know what I mean. And Overwatch 1 was very, very successful for me back when it released on my video game channel. So, a while back, from a Russian company named Klukva Miniatures, I believe. They did a series of Overwatch themed miniatures, not based on any kind of game system. They do models for anything with a haphazard approach to copyright infringement. So they did a little Overwatch set, and I picked it up ages ago, and I was getting a little bit hyped for Overwatch 2, kind of build myself up for it. And I thought, you know what, I should finally start trying to paint those things. So I picked out two of them. There's still a bunch more. I don't quite remember all the characters there is. I'll probably get through them now that I've started them. Again, not particularly because there's a game system, because there is no miniature Overwatch game. At least not yet, maybe there is one day. But they're very, very high quality miniatures, and they were very fun to paint. So for Tracer, it is a Yandin yellow on her tights, snakebite leather for her flight jacket. I just used the base coat with a wash over it for her like white metal mechanical parts and the whatever it's called that she wears that keeps her in time with reality. But yeah, very neat model, and I added a little bit of blue to make it look like she just finished doing one of her dashes, her blink teleports. But I actually think this model looks better from behind, and that's not me being like lewd or anything. I actually think the detail is caught better by the wash I used on the back, whereas the front is a little messy, and I don't think her face sculpt is quite right. I don't think that's all me. I think the sculpt is a little weird there, but still very neat. Again, not based on anything official at all. And then we have Reinhardt. When I tweeted out a picture of these two, I actually added the voice actor of Reinhardt, a man named Darren DePaul, who is a lovely man. Very recognisable, deep voice. He can do a lot of things as long as it's someone gruff sounding. For instance, in that Avengers game that came out a couple of years ago, he voiced the Hulk. Not Bruce Banner, just the Hulk, because he has that kind of voice. And he voices Reinhardt, and he is wonderful. And he appreciated seeing the Reinhardt, he liked it. So this was just Lead Belcher and Null Oil over the top, basically, with a little bit of Black Legion for some of the bits that are highlighted, and some Baal Red for where the red is. But again, he's super simple, but very fun. He was my favourite tank in Overwatch 1. Well, between him and Zarya, for those of you familiar, but I don't have a Zarya miniature. And I just tried to create like the heat effect, because he has like a rocket booster on the back of his armour, he's got a rocket on his hammer. But yeah, really, really neat. And I will try and get through the others as the mood takes me. I know there's for sure an Action a Bob, there's a Reaper and a Torbjorn, a Zenyatta, and one more I'm forgetting. They might have done more after that, but at the point at which I ordered them, that's all they had. So one quick cut later, I threw a toy for my dog. You might hear it. Yep, that's probably pick upable, right? That's her throwing around the toy that I threw to her. Sorry, I thought to include it just because it's funny. In case you don't believe me that I'm throwing a toy for my dog in between cuts. That's what she does, both if I don't throw anything or if I do. She's just brought it back to me and I'm expecting it to be thrown again. But I can't do that because we're talking about S.H.I.E.L.D.'s newest reinforcements. The new Captain America and the original Human Torch, Jim Hammond, I think his name was. What I'll say about Atomic Mass Games and Captain America is they can never get him quite right. And by that I mean they can never get him in a pose which doesn't look slightly silly or awkward. Because from the front, that looks great. That's probably how they based it on. And then you turn it, and you turn it, and then all of a sudden, he's tripping on some sandbags. And they can't quite get him to look cool. And it's such a shame. If they ever do a version of him with the hammer from Fear itself, I imagine that'll look awesome. But I mean, this is still probably better than the one from the core box. It's his traditional war era costume. It's not based loosely on the cinematic universe. Obviously the shield is the same, but yeah, especially if you look from the back with like that leg, it does just look like he's tripping. There's some really decent third-party Captain America sculpts that are superior to every Atomic Mass game effort, with the exception of Sam Wilson. That the dog might bark in a second. That Sam Wilson model for Crisis Protocol is one of my favourite sculpts they've ever done. It looks amazing. But this one, kind of basic. Used Talisar Blue, same colours I've used for all the other Captain Americas, honestly, except I think I used Battle Red this time to keep it bright. And just a base coat for the whites, and that's it. Yeah, and what was it for the sandbags? For the sandbags, I believe I used, it wasn't snakebite leather, it was, I'm blanking on it, the bone one. I'm forgetting what it's called offhand. I hate when I blank on words. It's the bone one though, the bone colour. For Mr. Human Torch though, I based him in Wraithbone because I wanted his colours to be brighter, and I'm actually really happy with how he turned out. Then I did a coating of Gryph-hound Orange, missing out the very tips of the fire and whatnot, went over that with a Yandin Yellow, and then when that was drying, went over the very, very tippy tips with the new Imperial Fists Yellow to brighten them up a little bit. And I think the detail on the miniature definitely helps. It's super simple, did not take long at all, and the effect in the end is very nice. I used what I learned from painting the Flame Atronax that we talked about last time on him, basically. They were a trial run for how I wanted to do this guy. He's got more detail, he's a larger scale obviously. But yeah, I'm really happy with how he turned out. Kind of wish he had a better first showing on the table to spoil that for anyone who's already seen it, but you know, the model itself I like. So one throw later, we then have the Hydra. Well, I was going to say reinforcements, but really their first showing. So we have Armin Zola and Baron Strucker. Armin Zola, I don't really like how he turned out. Because of the way you've got to assemble him and the weird plastic he comes with, you've got to do the face first. That's, if it can come into focus. That part was fine, no problem. I just used, Frostbire something or other, one of the new contrast paints. It's the light blue one, not the light green one. And then I finished assembling him, based it, and then this is Luxian Purple, one of the new purple contrast paints. Yandin Yellow, and then for his legs look real weird in the official paint job, so I was like, well, they kind of look metallic. I've got no idea how to paint that kind of effect. So I base coated them in Lead Belcher, then went over them with Imperial Fish Yellow because I wanted it to be a different yellow to his, pardon me, to his robes. And it does turn out like that, but it didn't turn out as shiny as I would have liked. So I'm not really sure how to change that, to be honest. So I just settled with that. Lead Belcher Silver for the silver parts of him. Not super happy with that one. I am more happy, he's standing on a shield logo there. I am more happy with how Baron Strucker turned out, and also he is just a very good leader on the table, as it turns out. So this is mostly what I did for Bob back in the day, as in Bob, Agent of Hydra. Basically used the exact same colours for him. The only part I'm disappointed with is the Hydra logo on his chest. Didn't really pick it out great with the way I used it. Is this not in focus still? I think it is. If it isn't, I'm sorry. It looks like it is, maybe now. Oh, there we go. Okay, now it is. So this is Warp Lightning with a Yandin Yellow, Gryph-hound Orange for his Flaming Fist, and then I used the same colours once I'd finished the base to kind of just do a little bit of a glow effect, on his armor. So I tried not to go over the top this time, although I did go over the top of the model we'll talk about soon. But yeah, simple enough, little 3-threat leader for Hydra. His hood's down, and he was really good in his first showing, honestly. He seems really, really effective. So that's it for Crisis Protocol this time. I'm not sure if we'll be seeing the Sentinels anytime soon. I was looking at the price of them, like I've talked about before. They seem way too expensive. I know they're massive, but just way too expensive. So I think I'm going to give them a miss for now. So something you already have seen on camera, if you watched the Season 2 finale to the very end, is the other two power armors that go with the the T51 set. So one of them's got a shish kebab, like the flaming sword thing, and one of them's got, is it just a flamethrower or is that an incinerator? I'm not sure. Either way, just showing them off as a matter of note, I did finish them both. Painted them exactly the same as the one I've been using for one of the power armors the settlement has. That the Plaguebearer Flesh used for kind of like the green rusted parts. The rest is just Lead Belcher Silver and various washes to give them that grimy, horrible look. So yeah, just pointing them out as a matter of fact. 2 more of these done for the pile and can be included in future planning for Season 3. They have to be now because they've been seen on camera. So then we have 4 outings for Cult Arms, the Elder Scrolls miniature game by Modiphius as well. Three of them are much more recent. One of them's already been seen on camera, and this is the Nightingale version of the Dragonborn. The Dragonborn that's joined the Nightingales via the Thieves Guild. Not much to say about her because it's basically pure black armour. Used the Black Legion contrast, used some washes, tried to pick out some details well. Not sure how well it paid off. Just silver for the bow, and she's standing on the Nightingale logo. Not quite sure how, and she's using glass arrows. I use Plague Flesh for that with the aggressor shade over the top to kind of try and get that glass type effect. But neat little model, bit of a pain to assemble. The hilt of the sword was broken, so I had to very carefully get that back on. Nice little detail though, having the Nightingale sword there too, and it's authentic in terms of like how it looks. But yeah, a little bit finicky. That's the most finicky model I've had assembly wise for Call to Arms. But then we have three of the Dark Brotherhood Council. We have Astrid the leader, we have Festus Krex, and we have the last Shadow Scale, whose name I don't remember. I think it's Vahira or Veriza. It's something like, I'll just call him Last Shadow Scale. Three of the six, I believe, in the Dark Brotherhood box. So that's the thing. Let's just look at the models first while I'm talking about it. But I remember the Dark Brotherhood storyline in Elder Scrolls Oblivion much better than I do the one in Skyrim, even though I have recently replayed Skyrim. But what I will say is Skyrim has much more memorable characters in the Dark Brotherhood, these three being amongst them, which is a great shame because they do so little with them. The Dark Brotherhood storyline in Skyrim is not that great, and it wastes having a wonderful array of characters. Astrid's husband isn't represented in the game yet. He's the guy who can turn into a werewolf. Let's just look at the Last Shadow Scale. So I used all of the same colours for their armour. He's obviously different because he's an Argonian, so he's a lizard man. I used Militarum Green for skin tone with Agrex over no, I think I just used non-oil over the top for him actually. Just to pick out the scales. The detail is definitely already there, so it's just a case of picking them out. But for all their armours, I used Flesh Terror Red for the red parts, Black Legion for the black parts, Snakebite Leather for their belts, and then copious amounts of wash on top with a little bit of blood for the Blood God. For Astrid, she's equipped with the Blade of Woe as well, which is neat. Professor Krex though, he is the destruction magic fireball obsessed one of the Dark Brotherhood, so obviously he is channeling a gigantic firestorm or fireball or whatever else. So I think I went a little OTT with the lighting on him. I kind of like how it turned out though, honestly. I don't dislike it. I think it's pretty effective. He's channeling a huge fireball right next to his robes, so of course some of the light would catch. My only regret maybe is using the Imperial Fish Yellow instead of a Yandin Yellow with maybe a tiny bit mixed in. Bring that light down just a tad, but I like him. He's fun. He's got the Dark Brotherhood logo on his back. So along with them you also get the Dark Elf Archer, you get Babette the Vampire, which is fun because she's like a little girl but she's a vampire, and Nazir, which is the one who you mostly communicate with in the video game. And he's fun as well. So I've still got them to paint up, but you should be seeing these three, actually maybe already, because I'm recording this a little bit in advance. Yeah, I think you'll already have seen these three be the stars of a third test battle report for Call to Arms. Again, still just testing the waters with the game itself. Well, at the time of me recording, I'm looking forward to seeing how they do. You'll probably already know. So last but not least, we have classic Batman and Robin, the recent releases for the Batman miniature game. I very much enjoyed both these miniatures in the painting process, and I did something a little bit different with Robin, and this is harking back to something I talked about last time, the difference between using Grey Seer, which is the Citadel contrast base paint I use for like 99%, but I've started occasionally using Wraithbone, and my experiments with that have resulted in seeing like if you want lots of bright, snappy, warm colours, use the Wraithbone. Don't use it if you are going to mix in some dark colours, because it really makes the dark colours suffer. So on that note, I used Wraithbone on Robin, Grey Seer on Batman, and then essentially it was just the usual Batman colours. Basilicanum Grey, a little bit of Storm Vermin Fur, which is just a regular paint as well on top. Black Templar for his cape, dry brushing of the Fang over it. And just because he's meant to be standing on some pipes where some Joker gas is spraying out, I did a little bit of dry brushing with don't remember what green it was. I'm blanking on it. I don't think it's the Nurgling one. But either way, just add a little bit of green reflection, and I like how it turned out. It's pretty neat. Use Nazdrag Yellow for his utility belt, and yeah, just a little bit of detail on the pipes, some Lead Belcher Silver for that. Very, very fun looking. Just the right amount of cape for me. I like his cape to be billowy, but not like Back to Gotham starter box billowy, which was the McFarlane type one. But yeah, very happy with this one. I think I made the dry brushing a little bit too strong on the back, if I was self-critiquing, but overall very happy with how it turned out, and I think it gels very well with the Robin, as long as you don't mind that Robin has a broken leg and is about to murder a clown. So for Robin, even the clown having a blue body, I knew Robin has a super bright colour scheme on purpose, so I want to use Wraithbone, and I think it was the right choice because the green, like you can tell the difference actually, kind of. Like, compared the greens on Robin to the greens on Baron Strucker. Baron Strucker was based in Grey Seer. It's the exact same treatment on both, but Robin is ever so slightly warmer. Like, if there was a yellow I could compare it to, I guess, kinda. I can't really because, oh, actually, you know what, I can. The yellow on Armin Zola's legs, although they were based in silver, which doesn't really help, because his cape was done in Imperial Fist yellow. Quite a liberal application of a layer, followed by a second, because I really wanted it quite thick, with just a teeny tiny bit of a Yandin yellow in where the creases are, just to add a little bit of shadow. I hope that's in focus, I apologise if it's not. Yeah man, I can tell it's not now. Sometimes models of a certain shape just do not comply. I think, there we go, that's better, so hopefully you can see it now, sorry for that. Gilliman Flesh for his flesh tones, Bal Red for his top, just Black Legion for like his domino mask and hat and whatnot. The clown, I don't quite remember the purple I used for his kneecaps. The blue is the Acrylene green. I know that sounds weird, but it's a bluish green or greenish blue, whatever you want to call it. And I used some of the Army Painter Rust on the various pipes, which were done in Leadbelcher. And yeah, I'm actually, if you look past the fact that he's dislocating his own ankle, I'm really happy with how this turned out. I think that leg is actually bent slightly more than it's supposed to. I think I got a little bit of a bad sculpt. Oh, on that note, I totally forgot to mention, but I didn't have any parts missing, which is great. All the models are assembled at this point, so I know for sure I'm not missing anything. But Night models aren't off the hook entirely, because this Batman, his cape section like here-ish is in like 3 parts. I've got 2 of this part, so that means out there somewhere somebody didn't get the integral piece of their sculpt. So their quality control still has issues, which is a great shame. And yeah, I've got somebody else's part that made its way into my packaging, which sucks for them, but for once it wasn't me missing parts, like for instance my Lubu that's missing an arm. Anyway, that is going to do it for another Getting Stuff Painted. If you want to show me what you've been painting, feel free to do so on Twitter, it is linked below. And if you'd like to support what we do here, please consider becoming a channel member or pressing the thanks button, it would greatly help out. Hope this inspires you to get painting. Your skill level does not matter as long as you enjoy the process. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll hopefully see you again in about 2 weeks for another update. Until then, ta-ta for now.